So, hello, and if you are somebody who's working in these days, thank you for keeping things going. If you're somebody who is on lockdown and not able to work, then thank you for keeping everybody else safe, and I hope keeping yourself safe as well. If you are on lockdown, you may have noticed something that has been reported to me by a number of folk, and I found it true for myself, that you begin to see things and appreciate some things that you hadn't really noticed much before. Things that have been sort of there in front of you are suddenly there in front of you in a new way. It could be the really annoying habit of somebody you're locked down with, or it could be the joy of bird song in the morning. It could be just so many different things. And sometimes it does take an abrupt or perhaps unwelcome change to our lives to make us notice things. And the reading that we've had today on about the road to Emmaus is about two people who haven't noticed something, and it requires a bit of trauma, a bit of adjustment, and quite a lot of help from God to get it into the arena of their awareness. It's a bit like, it's almost humorous actually, the way these two people are walking on a road away from Jerusalem, the center of the Jesus happening, talking with somebody as if he's the only person who has never heard about Jesus, when in fact it's Jesus who's walking with them. It kind of makes me want to shout out, like pantomime style, "He's beside you." Um, anyway, it's just the way of things, I suppose, that when our minds are fixed, when our worldview sets us to see things a particular way, it takes an earthquake or a pandemic or a tragedy or some big something to shake up our minds, shake up our perceptions, and open us up to possibilities that we've not been seeing. It's really, really true that when our minds are made up, it's really difficult to see things from a new perspective. As far as these two people were concerned, two disciples, probably, I think, husband and wife, but who knows? These two disciples are walking away from the action, going home in defeat. The thing they know for sure is that Jesus died. They've been right in the thick of the events. That they know, and that has fixed their minds. They can no longer see a new possibility. And yet, Luke tells us that it's a little bit more than simply their minds being fixed and made up. He says they were kept from recognizing him. And that strongly suggests that it's God who's intentionally holding back their moment of seeing. And I'm intrigued to think, well, why? Why not just go straight for it? Why not just introduce yourself immediately? It seems that God would like to draw their attention to a lesson from what they had of what we would call the Bible. Basically, the message seems to be, not only did Jesus speak with you about this during his lifetime and ministry, but actually the Bible's spoken about it for generations. Your mind should not be so closed to possibilities. Now, God does have a tendency, however, to understate. Oh, he can use extravagance, sometimes massive extravagance. I think of the universe as a place of extravagance. I mean, you think of the millions and millions of galaxies there are. And within our own galaxy, 100,000 million stars. Just in one of those millions of galaxies, 100,000 million stars. and all the space that's between them, and all the events that are going on at those stars, and interactions and explosions and contractions, and it's an extravagant universe in my opinion. But when it comes to relating to us person to person, God seems to go for understatement. He appears in the person of the carpenter of Nazareth. I mean, that's an understatement. It's a veiling of himself so that he can be truly seen, a toning down of who he absolutely is, so that a person-to-person interaction, a personal engagement and relationship becomes possible. Everywhere I look in the Bible, the resurrection is understated. When you think about its significance and the significance the Bible tells us it has, the actual presentation of the resurrection itself is very, very low key. Understatement is a really good vehicle for truth. I think you'd know what I mean if I say, look, true beauty is a much greater thing than the exaggeration of glamour. That true strength is a much greater thing than mere brute force. That wisdom is much more than simply knowledge of data and information. Truth is even deeper than wisdom, and love deeper still. Sometimes the truth about something will not be helped by any attempt to exaggerate. Sometimes the only way to the truth about something is understatement, and that can lead to some surprises. These people are on a journey. I've been following Captain Tom's journey, and I hope you have. It's been fascinating. It's a monotonous journey, but the statistics of the money he's taken, it's quite remarkable, and I really have to salute him. I'm inspired by him. A lot can happen on a journey, I think is part of the lesson of Captain Tom. Even in your back garden, unexpected things can happen when you set out on a journey. One of the lessons of the road to Emmaus is that the road to hopelessness is always headed in the wrong direction, because that is the road they're on. They've been in Jerusalem full of expectation. They explain this. They have hoped for so much, and it's spiraled out of control and then come crashing to the ground. Their experience is bitter, hard, and horrible. And they went to the gig that was to change the world, and it ended in disaster. The whole thing's been a mistake. They got it wrong. And it's in that despairing mood that they head away from the other disciples, out of Jerusalem, the centre of it all, and head home. And it's there that they meet this stranger on the road. He's the kind of guy, it seems, who's never seen Star Wars or heard of social distancing. The only person around, it seems, who hasn't actually heard of Jesus or the events of the last few days. And actually what they're doing as they go in their despondency is exactly what Pontius Pilate intended with the execution of Christ, and exactly what the chief priests and leaders intended when they handed Jesus over to be crucified. To crush the thing, to extinguish this flame, to take away the life and therefore the vigour that can drive the new movement and the new happening. But the stranger they're explaining it all to is none other than Jesus, looking for some lost sheep. He's gone after a couple that are going astray. When folk feel defeated, they're inclined to feel hopeless. And the coronavirus can bring that to bear on our lives in a whole range of ways across societies and individually. The road of hopelessness is always headed in the wrong direction. I've come to believe that when church people feel defeated about their church, it is a certain sign that God is actually giving them, us, an opportunity to see new things, to expand our horizons, and to make the changes which will equip us for the future. And I think that the coronavirus may be like that. It has created so much suffering. It becomes really important that we don't waste this time. It has hurt so many families and so many people and so many lives. It's asked so much of some that it would be wrong not to see the best we can get out of it. We need to not miss the opportunity to learn loads of lessons, including some lessons for how to be the church. God is the God who turns up beside us in our moments of despondency, waiting to be recognized. Do you remember last week I spoke about how I like the fact that Luke depicts the two angels at the empty tomb as appearing standing beside the women who are there. They're not ever depicted that way in any of the art I've ever seen. They're always standing opposite or above, more commonly, or in some way over and against the women. But Luke says they're there standing beside the women. And once more on the road to Emmaus, we have the divine standing beside two discouraged and broken people, walking alongside them on their journey in the wrong direction until they're ready to turn around and get back on track. And so God's presence with them is understated. Jesus is there, but he's not yet recognized. God's word is there. The scriptures are in these people's brains and hearts. And as Jesus speaks about the Bible, their hearts are warmed, are burning, their emotions are stirred in some way, but they don't quite get what it is until the moment when Jesus breaks the bread and they suddenly can see. Once they can see, the time of message is over. This was not really a fellowship time. This was a time for them to comprehend the impossible and to see what their minds were closed to because they saw with such a narrow worldview, a problem that has not gone away from humanity yet. So I don't want us to miss the lessons that COVID-19 may bring to us. I don't welcome coronavirus at all, and I pray God's blessing on the research and the development of means to combat the impact of this virus. While it's here, it shakes us up, forces us to change our lives, confronts us with death and suffering, and makes us see that we need a bigger picture for all our lives and for each of our lives. And my hope and prayer is that you and I and many, many more will wake up and find that in Jesus, God is actually standing beside us and wanting us to learn the lessons and wanting us to turn towards the better view, away from the hopelessness into the hope, away from the defeat into the possibilities, away from the past and into the future, away from death and into life. It's very, very hard conceptually. So what I love about the road to Emmaus is the gentle, quiet, understated presence of God that is just slowly, gently bringing them to the point of seeing. May we also see. He lives and is our hope our future, our life, our eternity, our present, our strength, our God. The Lord bless you in the week ahead. Do reflect on this, and if you want to think a bit more about the words behind the reflection, then there will be the extra supplement if you want to find it on the website. And I'll see you next time. Stay safe and look after others. God bless you.